I'm Ron.
And I'm Don.
And this is the Ron and Don Show. Thank you for joining us today. Our topic today is bar issues. If you ask just about any bartender you come across in a restaurant environment, hey, do you like the bar you work behind? Generally, you'll get an answer that's something somewhere between yes or not really, all the way to the extreme of, I hate the bar I work behind. And in probing further, you'll probably find the things that bartenders hate about working behind their bars are the layout and the design of that bar.
And they'll tell you very specifically, whoever did this bar never worked behind one. And oftentimes that's true. But the designers on the other side will complain about they don't have available space for all the things that they want to put into the bar, especially for displaying liquors and design and all the attributes that are not really going to be of any value to the bartender, but are there for the guests to enjoy. They also are concerned about having enough plumbing in the right places or having enough electrical to handle all the refrigeration and the other stuff. And then the budget's cut, or the space is too small. And those are always their complaints.
Now, if you step around to the front of the bar, and I don't recommend you do this, but if you did, I think you'd find talking to the guests that they'd say, I hate the position of the TVs. It hurts my neck to watch a TV. Or another big complaint we hear is that the beer tower is right there on the bar and right there in their face. The third one I hear, which I think is probably the most common complaint from guests, is the odors and the smells that come from bars and the flies that are associated with those.
We hope you don't have any of these problems.
No.
But the ops managers, they're going to complain in a different way. They're going to say, all the things we need at the bar, the liquor storage, the beer, backup beer cooler, the ice machine, all the smallwares we need for serving food and all that kind of stuff, there's no place near the bar or behind the bar to store them. And they have to go fight through a crowd because the bar is separated from the kitchen to go back and get ice, and it's unsafe and it's hazardous, and oftentimes the manager has to go for a run to get a bottle of whatever, and it just doesn't work right. And then we get complaints from everybody, the staff and the guests. It's just a bad deal.
Even if a bar was a great design when a restaurant opened, and the restaurant's gone through a couple of life cycles of things change, as they always do in any restaurant, chances are that restaurant may have been good at one time, or the bar may have been good at one time, and now just doesn't function the way it used to. And a lot of that can have to do with things like, for example, to-go stations. Restaurants are back in the to-go business again in a big way, and I've seen a lot of bars where a section of the bar is being devoted to the to-go pickup area.
So you got somebody trying to get their to-go in the service area while the cocktail waitress or waiter are trying to get their drinks off of the bar top. It just gets to be a confused mess. Now, one of the things that you got to consider when you're doing a bar is, what is the bar's mission? Is it a local spot where you go in to get a beer and they primarily serve beer and some hard liquor for those few patrons that want it? Are you really a holdings area where people are going to have one drink before they go in for dinner? Are you a martini and wine bar with very little need for beer? What is your purpose? Are you by a pool where you're going to serve a lot of fruity cocktails? Then you'll design the bar equipment and everything else for that function. You don't want to have your hidden bar or service bar also too tightly cramped, because they won't have room for all the various bottles and stores that they need, and they'll be running out into the bar, and you'll have cross congestion and all kinds of breakage of smallwares, glassware, possibly bottles dropped. You want to have everything so that the flow for what you want to serve and what you've designed the bar for is properly supported.
Too often, the service side of a bar during peak times can look like traffic in downtown London. There should be a smooth, rhythmic flow between the servers, the guests getting what they're there for, and the equipment that the bartenders have at their disposal.
And when the bar is badly functioning, the staff are running back along the bar. They're not looking up at the guests who they're serving at the bar. They don't even notice that all the drinks over here are empty and these people are trying to catch their eye. They're looking ahead at what they got to get done down here at the service bar, because they're going to be tipped out by those servers at the end of the day, and they haven't got their drinks up fast enough, and you're going to have lots of missed drinks. You're going to have higher cost of goods and poor yields on the bottles and the kegs, because suddenly you're overpouring beverages, or you're foaming the beer too much, and a lot of it's going down the drain just to try and satisfy and keep things going, because you're inefficient.
What you see here is a sketch of a bar die. Where you have failure in a bar die, which is usually around the base tile on the service side of the bar, you can have water propagating into the wall, you can have syrups from soda guns propagating into the wall, and ultimately you end up with a harborage area that can be anything from roaches to fruit flies to just water damage in general.
Well, think of the problem of a three-compartment sink that's no longer being used to wash glasses. Somebody put in a glass washer at the end of the bar, and now you've got it filled with ice, and you've got either martini glasses in it, or beer, or white wine, and that was never made for that. So you'll have condensation coming off the bottom of those deep-drawn wells that are the sink. The other one is, let's say you have a bar glass washer in a three-compartment sink that's actually used for washing glasses, and that has electric spinning brushes. Well, a lot of times you'll find that that sink will develop tiny little areas in the bottom of the sink itself that are all pitted. And that's electrolysis, and eventually you'll have holes all over in the bottom of that sink that drip water on the floor. Both of these are putting a lot of water on the floor. Now you may have $1,000 left on the books if it's a relatively new sink. Sinks run anywhere from $900 to $3,000 depending on what you've got, and you can't replace it. Well, you can't fix the sink that's got the electrolysis problem. There's no way to fix it. You can try and weld it, but you'll blow new holes next to wherever you welded. It won't work. If you're in a position where you have to replace a sink for either of those reasons or others, look at the design behind the bar and say, does it still function for us? Or is there a better application? I have, in some cases, put in a small table back there so they could stack their dishes and have their roll-ups and their menus there and easily handled. Other problems often occur when you have equipment such as mug chillers and beer coolers that are top open, and they've taken the casters off the bottom to sit directly on the floor. And what happens is all the water on the floor gets underneath it and rusts away the bottom and gets into the insulation and really causes a lot of odors. And
Back
again,
to the fruit flies.
the fruit flies, the whole 9 yards again. And sometimes the bottom is so bad that if you picked it up and put it back on casters, you'd have to make an angle iron frame to put the casters on to hold that bottom together. Maybe it's time to replace again, but if you haven't got the cash flow to do it or whatever, I have made angle iron frames for the bottom of those things with some cross members. Where is the drain locations, and how are the cleanouts set up for the bar? Can the plumber get to them, clean them out? Because you know you're going to get straws, fruit, and all kinds of stuff down those drains. And those drains are a great harborage for fruit fly generation and have to be cleaned. And if the best way to get some of those drains cleaned is also a wet vac, but not when you're open, because the odor you're going to send through the restaurant is terrible.
Yeah, well, we've done a good job of identifying a lot of bar issues. I suspect a lot apply to you as you're watching this. In the next part 2 of this series, we're going to discover bar solutions that will go alongside some of these bar issues. I'm Ron.
And I'm Don.
Thank you for joining us today.
And we thank Rifteman for being our sponsor.
Thank you.